Welcome to Fast Lap, where we cover motorsports around the globe for the CIH Media YouTube channel. And in this edition, we have a lot to talk about. The 110th running of the Indianapolis 500, and wow, what an exciting race that was. We're going to look at the Canadian Grand Prix. Formula One returns to action after 3 weeks off, and some crazy things happened up in Canada. But we are going to start with NASCAR in this one, where Daniel Suarez did win the Coca-Cola 600, but it was overshadowed by the passing of the legend himself, Kyle Busch, who passed away last week from septic pneumonia. Something that, a little bit of commentary here, something that probably was avoidable if he had taken some time off and got healthy, but he tried to play through it, and unfortunately he passed away last week. It's lost for words. I was in complete shock when I heard about it. I had heard he had been suffering from what was a cold or a flu. Yeah, I'm lost for words to really talk about it. But let's talk about Kyle's career. 63 Cup wins, 234 wins across all three series, which is the Cup Series, which is the Xfinity Series, and the Craftsman Truck Series. Kyle was absolutely amazing. Twice champion in 2015 and then again in 2019. And a stat here is absolutely amazing. He is the leading driver with most consecutive seasons with at least one win. Look at the list of names. He is above Richard Petty, David Pearson, Jimmy Johnson, Ricky Rudd, and Rusty Wallace. One of the best. Voted one of the top 75 NASCAR drivers of all time. Of course, Kyle, older brother Kurt Busch, is also mourning the loss. Kurt Busch, a former NASCAR champion himself. Kyle did leave a family behind, a wife, Samantha, and 2 children, and just an absolute. We're going to miss him so much. Kyle was a unique person and just a tough competitor. He raced hard as anybody, probably as close to Dale Earnhardt as there was as far as how hard Kyle raced. The man who always took a bow when he won to the fans to thank them for attending and being there at the races. Kyle Busch, we've lost him at the age of 41. We'll be back in a minute. All right, let's move on to some more happier news, and let's cover the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500 that happened yesterday. Yes, they got the event in. There were 2 stoppages for what was raindrops around in the back straightaways, turn 3 and 4 at one point. It never seemed to rain in the pits, which was good, but they did stop it a couple of times for a short time and restarted it again. And then there was a stoppage at the end of the race because with under 10 laps to go, of course, there was a caution from a car hitting the Kai Colette hitting the wall that brought out the caution flag, and they didn't want to end the race under the caution, so we had a nice little smash and dash towards the end of the race. And let's take a look at some of the particulars. Again, we looked at this in our last show. No changes in qualifying. There were no penalties handed out from our last episode on Monday when they had their last practice. We will talk about Alexander Rossi, however. He did get the start in second place. Was misgiven, and I apologize, saying he was going to have to go to the back of the grid if he used the backup car. Both him and Paddle Ward, who were involved in that accident on Monday, did have to use their backup cars. But Indy has changed the rules. IndyCar has changed the rules, so they were able to use their same qualifying spot instead of the cars. It used to be the cars qualified. Now it's the drivers. I'm so sorry I made that mistake, but you can see, we take a look at the 33 qualifiers. Alex Palou, last year's winner on pole, Rossi and David Malukas. There is your front row. Felix Rosenquist in 4th, Ferrucci, Paddle Ward, then Kiffin Simpson, Connor Daly, Scott McLaughlin, Dixon, VK, and Sato. Then we have Ed Carpenter, who is the owner of Alexander Rossi's car, and his other driver, Kristen Rasmussen, starting in 15th, and sandwiched in between is Helio Castroneves on his strive for 5 to get his 5th Indy 500 win. Then you got Marcus The two Marcuses, Marcus Armstrong and Ericsson, and Christian Lundgaard, of course, Marcus Ericsson won the race in 2022. Will Power won the race in 2018. Then you got Nolan Siegel, Louis Foster, Ryan Hunter-Reay won the race in 2014. And of course, Joseph Newgarden won in 2023 and 2024. And Romain Grosjean wearing the number 18. Special, they did change the font on Romain Grosjean's car to match the font raced by Kyle Busch when he raced the number 18 for Joe Gibbs Racing as a tribute. Kyle Kirkwood, then Catherine Legge, Mick Schumacher, yeah, famous son of the famous father. Then you got Graham Rahal, whose father celebrated the 40-year anniversary of his win in 1986. Dennis Hager, Jacob Abel, and then Stingray Robb, and then of course Kai Collette and Jack Harvey were moved to the back of the grid. Nothing changed there after they were found to have parts that were not spec parts, and they were simply moved to the back of the grid. Of course, we talked about Alexander Rossi's accident on Monday, the practice accident. Alex was injured. He broke a small bone in his left hand that was okay. He had a procedure on that to fix it, and then he had a problem, a small broken bone in his foot and his ankle, so he wasn't really able to walk, and he was on crutches, but he was cleared to race for the 110th running, and there he is at the driver introductions on crutches. So hey, yeoman effort for this, and that's what these guys put up with. They will not take care of themselves and sit out. Nope, Alexander is here, and what can you say? That's what he does. Caitlin Clark, the basketball legend here, was the grand marshal of the event. She got to stand next to the thing that they're all after, the Borg Warner Trophy. Kind of like the Stanley Cup. They don't get this, so it's not like a normal trophy. They simply get their face immortalized on it. And yes, every time they win a race, they get their face put on there. So Helio Castroneves has his on there 4 times, along with AJ Foyt, Al Unser, and Rick Mears. Al Unser Jr. has it on twice, by the way. So Caitlin standing next to the thing that all the drivers are competing to get their faces on. Of course, the legend himself, the captain, Roger Penske, one of my heroes of business. This man, he was a race car driver, turned businessman and race car owner, and the most successful race owner at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and now the owner of the IndyCar Series and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He has really, really pumped this event up and done a great job. Captain, always my captain. All right, you can see the 11 rows of threes. They lined up for the start of the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500, and we went green. Let's take a look at some of the highlights because I can actually show you these. Be back in a second. Take a look at these.
This is their chance to write their name in history, to cross the bricks, to drink the milk, to win the Indianapolis 500. This is the greatest spectacle in racing. We have green, we're racing, and Alex Palou takes us to green. The front row lined up behind him, and Rossi takes the move immediately to the outside to sweep into the lead.
No worries, no hesitation for Alex Rossi as he takes the point heading into turn 2 now. All clean through that first corner as drivers maybe looking to the high side.
I'm watching that red, white, and blue car, Santino Ferrucci trying to make some moves forward as he pops out on David Malukas to the inside of turn 3.
Palou retakes the lead from Alex Rossi. Ferrucci on a charge and on the move and up to 3rd. McLaughlin is up to 8. Rosenquist is up to 5th, and Daly is up to 6th.
It's Pato O'Ward, the big loser of that first lap from that first opening sequence. Great to see Daly making moves as now again the dance at the front starts. Townsend Rossi back to the front around Palou.
And as the drivers exit turn 4 and cross the yard of bricks on lap 18, we remember Kyle Busch.
Talked about turn 2, guys. This is exactly what happened to Alex Rossi in that Monday practice. Just got a little high. You saw that first moment, he corrected it. Did a good job of keeping his foot buried and keeping it out of the wall initially. And Catherine is not sure which way that car was going to go.
I think she made the right decision. I think that hole was closing up impossibly for Catherine Legge. Right here, perfect decision. She had to do that and just narrowly avoided T-boning Ryan Hunter-Reay, really sacrificing herself to protect the other driver. Horrible situation for both. And what happens? He just
Sato just turns down on him. Sato was trying to almost act like there was only two cars there, not being him and one other. Not a lot Ed could do from that place.
Carpenter out of the vehicle, under his own steam. Good to see after a big hit into the turn one wall. He's frustrated. ECR's day goes from leading this race to abject disaster. Carpenter's not happy. The lead for the opening 19 laps of this race, Alexander Rossi.
Let's take a look at what happened here, James. It looks like the right rear tire changer had to go to the spare wheel nut. Loses valuable time right there. Has to get it rethreaded and then gunned. Horrible under a caution stop for Alexander Rossi, who was breezing at the lead, and you see fuel burning off on the left-hand side, and that's not the only time that's happened.
No, we roll back 12 months to last year. A fire on pit lane for Alexander Rossi saw the end of his race. Pit stop woes, though, today for ECR. We've already seen Alexander Rossi lost 11 positions on that stop. All three
He's got a motor going, or a gearbox perhaps on the radio, we understand, and there's fluid on the racetrack.
He's pulling down into the acceleration lane there. Oh, the rears just completely lock up. Oh my God, that could have been so much worse for Will Power.
Neutral blew up like.
Well, under caution. Moments ago at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Alexander Rossi on pit lane. Already the track under caution. Smoke billowing from the rear of his ECR car. And it is a retirement once again for Alexander Rossi and ECR. You will remember he's in the backup car. His hand and his foot bolted together after an accident earlier in the week. Not even making it as far as his own pit stand. The Andretti team helping him out. And there is something of a lovely irony there, that he now sits with the crew on Carl Kirkwood's car now. No way.
Green.
Malukas goes. Palou goes with him. Oh, big crash behind, and that's Newgarden. Newgarden into the wall. Back under yellow immediately. And the Penske man, who had had such a wonderful day, rising up from 23rd to...
Let's see what happened. There's Newgarden.
Oh,
He's under his own steam.
Oh, just got onto the curb maybe.
did that left front cross over to the thin curb on the inside? Watch the left front tire. Does it get there? It does, James.
It is a move we have seen so many times here, Townsend. That rumble strip, that curbing on the bottom of turn 4 has caught out many drivers over the years. So easy to do. Your eyes are full. Here's off of 2.
Oh,
got
no,
loose.
caught it. Oh, that's
Just
horrible.
Overcorrected it into the wall.
Exact same part of the racetrack. Exact same moment that Ryan Hunter-Reay had earlier in this race. Tom Rinaldi called it at the start of this thing. Treacherous turn 2 has defined this place for so many years.
Just look at the deformation of the safer barrier as he gets in there. Just such an incredible safety improvement. Really pioneered here at the Speedway. That would be a much more jarring hit from inside the cockpit if that wasn't there.
Yeah, that was... He still felt every bit of that. I know they call it the safer barrier, and there's some foam inserts between the steel membrane and the concrete. It's James, you and I have both hit that thing. It feels like it's all concrete, but it does an amazing job of dissipating energy. As you see the right front suspension, brake rotor, and hub just tumbling along through the turf.
Malukas hunting to the high side, around the outside, into the lead. Malukas leads with 1 to go. Rosenquist round the outside of his teammate through 1, into the short tune in 2.
Teammates battle side by side, but out front, the young American chasing his first win off turn 2.
David Malukas goes to defend. The MSR driver still side by side, but will that play into Malukas' hands? And here comes Pato O'Ward. Malukas is out in front.
Side by side behind.
It's not over yet! It's not over yet! Malukas has to defend from Rosenquist. Great run off the final corner. Here comes Rosenquist. Malukas defends. Who has it? Over the line. Who's it going to be? It's Rosenquist. It's Rosenquist.
Oh my goodness!
Go get him here. Go get him to the line. Come on. You're all clear. You and him. You're all clear. You and him. Region. Deploy, deploy, deploy. Hell yeah! Red 12, you just won the Indy 500. You just won, buddy. Hey, Bill, fella. Oh, I wish you were here. Oh, thank you guys. Oh, what a race. What a race. You are the was so good. Oh my God, good job, buddy. And take your time coming in. Enjoy that. Enjoy it. Work out there, buddy. Everybody here in 3 salute you. Awesome job. Oh, thank you guys. What a car. What a car. What a crew. Oh. Oh, I can't believe this. I honestly think I'm in a dream. Unbelievable.
Entire final lap.
Oh, look at that.
Oh.
It's not even a nose.
You can see why Malukas is so devastated, because you just never know if you're going to get that opportunity again.
Look at that. It's that final move out. And you know what? David Malukas has won himself an army of fans today. Felix Rosenquist with Jamie Little.
Felix Rosenquist, you are an Indy 500 champion. Congratulations. How does that sound, Felix?
Oh, I don't even know what to say. What a car. What a car. Massive thanks to the team. We had 2 cars there in the wind at the end, and that's a very luxurious situation to be in for a team. So thanks Maishank Racing, Honda, Sirius XM, the Morgan Wallen car. I think we were the best car today. I felt like we were in all situations. We kind of had it under control. That last yellow didn't help us, but it kind of worked out the right way when I got back to 3rd, and then I just had a flat out lap on the high line, and it stuck. It was just the coolest way you can finish a win in Indy 500. So I really miss my wife and my newborn child Stella here. I wish they were here with me, but my sister is here somewhere, so I'll celebrate with her.
If you did not find the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500 the most exhilarating race that you have probably ever watched, you might want to go see a doctor and get your pulse checked to see if you're actually living. What a race, especially the last part of that race. So many lead changes. The final restart, again, when you're leading with 10 laps to go and it kind of looks like everything's going your way and your fuel strategy was going to work as it was for Felix Rosenquist at that time. He had more fuel than Padua Ward, and he was ahead of David Malukas and Alex Palau that were on a different strategy. You looked like you were going to coast to an easy victory. Nope. No, you weren't. Then Kai Collette hit the wall. They throw a red flag because they want the race to finish under green, and everything's mixed up and thrown on. So now you got Malukas and Palau much, much closer. They were about 16, 15 seconds back of Rosenquist at that time. Now they're right there in the pack, and you saw that last dash on that one lap, white flag, green flag, restart, Felix Rosenquist. On the outside of his teammate Marcus Armstrong, thank you, the whole time, almost the entire lap, just breathless. Looked like Malukas was going to have it, and Rosenquist just simply came winding out of that fourth turn like someone in the roller derby who got slingshotted and just beat him by just the nose of his car. Wow. What do you get to do as winner of the Indianapolis 500? Well, Felix kept saying he just found it unbelievable and that he was in a dream. And things you get to do, well, you get to pose next to the Borg Warner Trophy and realize your face is going to be immortalized on there, and you get to drink a lot of milk. Yes, a lot of milk, because Indiana is a big milk producer, and so the Dairy Association, the drivers all have to drink milk. Remember, one guy didn't drink milk one year and pushed it away and got in big trouble. Emerson, do you know who you are? The drivers even pick the type of milk they want. They can't pick chocolate, but they can pick non-fat, 1%, 2%, or whole. Can't remember what Felix picked. You get to jump up and down and celebrate with your team after winning. You get to kiss the Borg Warner Trophy. You get to kiss the yard of bricks. And you get a big ring from Jostens. There it is. Felix with his nice big ring that'll be sized for him. And yes, you become immortalized. Felix Rosenquist, well, now is an immortal. An Indianapolis 500 winner. It does change your life. You can ask Marcus Ericsson, Joseph Newgarden, Alex Palau, a lot of the recent winners, and even some of the guys from the recent past, like Sam Hornish, Julio Castroneves, 4 wins, AJ Foyt, Rick Mears with 4 wins, Al Unser Sr., no longer with us, unfortunately, 4 wins, Johnny Rutherford, 3 wins, still there. What a guy JR is, but yeah, immortalized. And his newborn daughter, back home in Sweden, will not know, probably won't know this. Daddy's going to have to tell her the tale, but she will have it on video to see her dad winning. Congratulations to the Rosenquist family, by the way, on their newborn. And then her father won the closest finish in Indianapolis 500 history by just over 2/100ths of a second over David Malukas, the second closest finish, or what was the closest finish until yesterday. Al Unser Jr. beating Scott Goodyear in 1992 by 4/100ths of a second. So there you go. Let's look at the full results. You can see our top 3. There is no podium in Indianapolis, and this was put by Will Buxton very, very, very well, that you have a winner, there is no podium, and that's it. So first place did go to Rosenquist, second place to David Malukas. Third place, Scott McLaughlin there at the end. Pato O'Ward ended up finishing 4th. Marcus Armstrong, that was battling Felix Rosenquist that entire lap, had the inside line, Rosenquist out on the outside line. And Rosenquist later said, I'd never tried that before. I had no idea how it was going to work. And Armstrong says, my choice was either to crash him or let him go at the end. And there you go. They were teammates, so that's how that worked. Then you got VK, Alex Palau, fell back kind of in that last melee there. Ferrucci there, always in the top 10 as Santino Ferrucci hit Indianapolis. Romain Grosjean, good finish for him. Takuma Sato, former 2-time winner of this race. Nolan Siegel in 11th. And Connor Daly, one of the hometown favorites, here, Indiana boy there in 12th. Then it goes down to Simpson, Dixon, Kyle Kirkwood. It was not a great day for Andretti Global there. Christian Lundgaard, who won the Indy Grand Prix just a couple of weeks before. Mick Schumacher, the highest finishing rookie, just ahead of Dennis Hager. Then Graham Rahal, Louis Foster, Jack Harvey, Stingray Robb, Jacob Abel. Julio Castroneves, who dropped out with a technical issue at the end of the race. Of course, Kai Collet, who brought out that last caution flag. And then you got Kristen Rasmussen, who retired with a mechanical difficulty. Joseph Newgarden, you saw him hit the wall. You saw Will Power's gearbox let go, and he ended up spinning on that. Alex Rossi, you saw what happened to him. Unfortunately, his pit stop dropped him from first place down to 17th, and he really wasn't a factor after that. So kind of after qualifying second, the month of May kind of turned sour on Alexander Rossi, especially with that Indy Grand Prix incident that happened with him stalling on the front straightaway, or the car, dying on the front straightaway with the hybrid system going. His boss, Ed Carpenter's crash right there, Takuma Sato cut him off, so there you go. Ryan Hunter-Reay, Catherine Legge are the 33 classified finishers. Alex Palau was handed a penalty, but it did not affect his time. It was simply championship points. Will that come to haunt him at the end of the season? And a big fine for a problem with the front wing. So it was not anything intentional. It was just a change they did to the front wing in one of the pit stops, and it was a big no-no, but they just simply fined him, so no placement. 70 lead changes is a record for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the 500. 68 was the previous record set in 2013. Felix Rosenqvist is the third driver from Sweden to win. Of course, Marcus Ericsson in 2022, and Kenny Brack all the way back in 1999. This race is full of jubilation and heartbreak, and it's only at one place. First is jubilation. Second place is heartbreak. You got to feel for David Malukas. He had a great car, and I thought he had it. I absolutely thought he had it when he held everybody off going into turn 3. But wow, Rosenqvist with that slingshot came out of turn 4, and there was just no stopping him. It is the second race in a row that David Malukas has finished second at the Indianapolis 500. This one hurt a lot more than last year's. Last year's, he was very fortunate to be there. He even said that. But yeah, he'll recover. Meyer Shank, their second win, the team that Felix Rosenqvist drove for, their first one way back in 2021, way back, with four-time winner Helio Castroneves. So congratulations, Meyer Shank. A lot of prize money here for you. We got to bring in some Formula One reference, because when Max Verstappen at the Canadian Grand Prix went to the press conference and he was the first one to walk in, he asked the journalist, hey, who won the Indianapolis 500? They told him this guy, Felix Rosenqvist. And Lando Norris showed up at the Speedway this morning when they were doing all the press shots with Felix in the car out on the yard of bricks. Him and Lundgaard out with Zach Brown went for a round of golf at the Speedway. But yeah, him and Rosenqvist are good buddies. Of course, Rosenqvist used to drive for Arrow McLaren a few years ago. There it is, the winning car of Felix Rosenqvist, the Meyer Shank number 60. Yeah, what a finish. What a race this was. The 110th running. We can't wait for next year. How could you beat this? Closest finish in Indianapolis 500 history. Wow. Take a look at the pylon where your driver finished of the 33, number 60 on top for this year in 2026. IndyCar will be back in action this weekend at Detroit, the street circuit, the bumpy street circuit. We will see what happened there. Completely opposite of the Speedway. Oh my God. Crazy action in racing here. We'll be right back. Formula One, the Canadian Grand Prix. Let's talk about the Canadian Grand Prix. Round 5 of the 2026 Formula One World Championship. Of course, this race moved to this weekend this season. Usually this race takes place about the second weekend in June around Father's Day. And usually this is Monaco's weekend to race. Formula One did a switch. Since Miami was 3 weeks ago, they decided not to simply go to Monaco and then come back, which they have done in the past. Teams stuck around for a couple of weeks, for 3 weeks to be exact, in North America. And we have the Canadian Grand Prix on the circuit. Gilles Villeneuve, named after the great Canadian legend, passed away sadly in a racing trying to qualify for the Belgian Grand Prix in 1982. Of course, his son Jacques went on to win the championship in 1997 for Williams, and well, the Indianapolis 500 in 1995. Take a look at the circuit. Gilles Villeneuve and the Isle of Notre Dame and the St. Lawrence River. 70 laps was the scheduled distance. The circuit length is 4.361 kilometers. Brilliant track. I like it. It uses brakes a lot, goes through gearboxes a lot. It is a tough track. The surface, not very abrasive because it only really gets used this one time a year, and it's been covered with snow and ice for, several months until it just thawed out a few weeks ago. Got to resurface a couple of years ago as well. But one of my favorite tracks, it was a beautiful surrounding with the city of Montreal in the background. It was a sprint weekend, and George Russell took the pole. He seems to be the, shall we say, baron of taking poles in sprint races. Ahead of his teammate Kimi Antonelli. Then you had the two McLarens, the two Ferraris, the two Red Bulls. Then Arvid Lindblad and Carlos Sainz were the top 10. Hulkenberg there in 11th, all the way down to no time from Liam Lawson that had a problem, and Alex Albon had an accident in the one and only practice session. Neither driver had a time, so they started at the back during the sprint race. We're going to take a look at the one and only thing I can show you from the sprint race. Thank you, Formula One.
Stoppa. 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 Stoppa.
Yeah, if you think I'm kidding, that's like literally the only video I could find that Formula One wouldn't come after me with a hatchet. It was a good battle between the two Mercedes cars, and Kimi made a move on the inside of George, and George said, no way, pushed Kimi out into the grass. This was, of course, down into the turn 1-2 complex, which is sort of a wide looped hairpin, and also you come out of the pits right there. Kimi wasn't very happy about it. Yeah. So we now have a plot thickens as these two, and George has already been showing that he's not too happy with Kimi beating him, and now we saw how Kimi reacted to George shoving him off, so they're no longer the best of friends. This is going to be fun the rest of the year, because believe me, it boiled over into the race, and yes, we got a race. Even if these two guys going after one another, it's going to be fun. So yeah, Kimi was alongside and got pushed off. Kind of George, Kimi was there. And George acted like, well, too bad you're there. And if you look at the past and remember some of the races where George got on the inside of people like Max and other drivers, George says, hey, I'm there. You can't just ignore me. Well, George tends to have a different view when you're trying to pass him. Kimi was complaining about it on the radio a bit too much, and Toto finally came on and said, Kimi, concentrate on the driving, please, not on the radio moaning. I agree. Maybe that it got a little carried away on the radio because Kimi just kept complaining about it. What he said that George was very naughty. Naughty. So Toto now acting as the, shall we say, referee between his two drivers. This is going to be fun, folks. I'm going to love it. We're all going to love it. It's always fun when you have a bit of a rivalry going on. Sprint winner was George Russell. Kimi ended up going off a second time, and Lando got past him, and Oscar finished fourth. Kimi, of course, got third. Then you had Leclerc and Hamilton finished in fifth, so pretty much similar to the way they started, except Isaac Hadjar had a terrible problem with the car. Engine gave out on him, and he did not finish. Max Verstappen got seventh, and then the last point went to, that's right, Arvid Lindblad for Racing Bulls. And at last was Alonso, who had problems in his Aston Martin. That's just the disaster we've been talking about all year. So there are the rest of the results for the sprint race. Right after the sprint race was qualifying for the big race on Sunday. And once again on pole. Almost the same top three. George Russell took the pole. Kimi Antonelli, so we had a rematch. Lando Norris there in third, Piastri in fourth, Hamilton, then Verstappen, Hadjar, Leclerc, Lindblad, and Franco Colapinto. Someone has lit the Bunsen burner under him, and he is boiling over. And you got Nico Hulkenberg, Liam Lawson, Borletto, Gasly, and the second Alpine got beat by his teammate again. Carlos Sainz and Ollie Behrman, and the first guys out in Q1 were Ocon, Albon, Alonso, Perez, Stroll, and Bottas. Albon and Ocon are probably the big surprises on there. The other four have pretty much been out in Q1 most of the season. Take a look at the starting grid. The only change was Lance Stroll would start from the pit lane. And by the way, Alvin Lindblad, who qualified ninth, car would not start. They had two false starts. The cars were gridded after their formation lap and had to go back around 2 times. So the race total from 70 laps went all the way down to 68. Lindblad's car was pushed all the way back off. There was no shortcuts into the pit lane. They had to push it all the way back past the wall of champions and into the pit lane that way, and the race finally got started. And I'll show you a couple of highlights that I found that kind of explain what happened to this race a little bit, and then we'll talk more about it in a second.
Somehow still finished in fifth. Maxi seemed to find some pace. Mercedes had just to quit. Kimi wins another race. Mercedes getting on the show. His muscles coming brakes. Let me finish second place. We got straight clear, slowing down. His muscles coming brakes. Really fucking love this race. No great conservation. I'm still enjoying the race. Where the hell is Aston's biscuit? What's in the bag? We're spinning it down.
So I hope that non-official Formula One video explained what happened in the race. If that one didn't work, how about this one? So those videos were, what I could find to explain the race. We'll talk about it now. On a relatively dry track with the possibility of rain, that by the way never happened, McLaren's decided to start on intermediate tires, which helped them at the start because everyone was on softs or mediums and couldn't get the temperature into them. McLaren were to make a good start. In fact, Lando took the lead for a few laps. As they came around after those two formation laps, Oscar was already demanding, hey, bring me in and pit me now. Nope, they didn't. They waited till the actual race started. Lando did get the lead. Oscar, about fifth, eventually came in at the end of the first lap and changed, and McLaren eventually fell down the order as Lando got passed by everybody, and he pitted as well. And yeah, McLaren was pretty much out of the equation for the rest of the day, which left us with a rematch of Saturday's sprint race between our two favorite Mercedes drivers, George Russell and Kimi Antonelli. Went back and forth. Kimi kept getting alongside of him. George kept having problems down in the hairpin and then the drag on the long straight back towards the pits and the chicane before the Wall of Champions. George kept taking the inside line. Kimi got stuck on the outside line and went off a couple of times, had him. George got it back. George then shoved Kimi off at one point, locked up the brakes. Kimi had to lock up the brakes to avoid rear-ending George and pushing him off the track. Kimi ended up taking the lead because he had to shortcut the chicane and felt the corner should have been his. Yeah, the team said give it back. He wasn't very happy on the radio again, going, hey, he pushed me off. Yeah. Got a general rivalry between these two. George's day ended in a DNF, which allowed Kimi to take the lead and drive off into the distance. And yeah, tons of memes about this guy. I'm not going to make more fun of him than I already have. Sorry, George. McLaren, absolute dismal day, ended with no points. Lando DNF'd. Oscar, after a 10-second penalty after smashing into the side of Alex Albon at the hairpin, either the brakes faded or he simply forgot where the brake pedal was, not sure. Oscar ended up finishing out of the points in 11th, so no points for McLaren. Wow, what a difference a season makes, guys. And McLaren decided to take over the new mantra from Ferrari on pit strategy. Way to go, guys. Kimi Antonelli won his fourth race of the season and became the first driver in Formula One history to win his first 4 Formula One races consecutively. Crazy. How many more would he win? Monaco's going to be tough. This guy, we love him. Lewis Hamilton had a great weekend for Ferrari. Looked like he might be in the hunt for pole, but Mercedes just has too much pace. But hey, he was up there, got second place. Congratulations to Lewis Hamilton. His best result with Ferrari since coming over from Mercedes. Third place, this guy, Max Verstappen, had a miserable weekend. terrible in the sprint race, couldn't get up out of like the midfield of the sprint race in the top 10 there, but managed to bring it home third. Alpine, what can we say? Both cars in the points. Colapinto finished ahead of Gasly, and for Franco Colapinto, P6, the highest of his career. Someone has lit him on fire. Perhaps the threat of being sacked and sent back to Argentina. Not sure. Franco Colapinto has seemed to learn how to be a Formula One driver and may be keeping his seat. Great time on the podium as Lewis congratulated Kimi on the win. I think Lewis has a little spite with George and really is egging Kimi on to beat him. Yeah. And Lewis is the one who said, hey, let's lift Kimi up on our shoulders. Great time on the podium here in Formula One. Let's take a look at the results of the Canadian Grand Prix. Our top three, we've already talked about Antonelli, Hamilton, and Verstappen. Charles Leclerc, very silent this weekend. Very outperformed by his teammate Lewis Hamilton. Just did not get on with the car at all. The weather was cold. That may have something to do with it, but Charles Leclerc did manage to come home fourth. A lap down was fifth place and beyond. Isaac Hadjar had several problems, had penalties, but brought it home fifth, a lap ahead, a lap down. Franco Colapinto had six. Liam Lawson managed a good recovery after getting almost only 3 laps like a practice in and starting last in the sprint race. He got seventh. Gasly for the elder Alpine there in eighth, as we said. Carlos Sainz, a good finishing points there for Williams in a ninth, and Oliver Behrman getting the last point for Haas. Then 2 laps back was Oscar Piastri. 10-second penalty and all the other problems they had. 2 laps back, and all you can see back. Stroll the 2. Aston Martin simply used it as a test session, as well as Valtteri Bottas and the Cadillac team. Just no pace compared to the Mercedes and the rest of the teams. And then not finishing, Perez, Cadillac, they had to withdraw him. He had a suspension failure. Literally, the suspension, we're not sure. They never showed him hitting the wall, but he literally, right before the pits, the suspension just broke and he went straight into the pits. I'm pretty sure he must have hit the wall, but they never ended up showing it. Lando Norris, technical problem there. George Russell, it was a power unit failure. Fernando Alonso, no reason why was given why he retired. Alex Albon, of course, he had the damage from Oscar Piastri, so we know why he did. And Arvid Lindblad never started the race. Let's take a look at the championship standings. After a sprint, a weekend, and race, Kimi Antonelli has extended his lead over his teammate to 131 to 88. Charles Leclerc hangs on to third place, even though his teammate Lewis Hamilton is now right behind him there, 75 to 72. And Lando Norris there for McLaren in fifth place with 58 points. Again, what a difference a season makes. Look at McLaren last year this time. Then Oscar Piastri with 48. Max Verstappen in seventh with 43. Pierre Gasly, Alpine, having a good year. Boy, did they just love dumping their own engine and taking up with Mercedes. 20 points for him. Ollie Behrman there in 18th, getting a few points here and a few points there. Liam Lawson there in 16th. Franco Colapinto, 15 points this season. Oh my God. Had none with Alpine until coming into this year. Good job for him. Isaac Hadjar there, 14, a little ways behind his teammate Max Verstappen, as Max is once again distancing himself from his teammate, as he always does. Carlos Sainz there, the lead Williams driver, with 6 points, and Arvid Lindblad with 5 there in his first season in Formula One. Then you got Borletto, Ocon, and Albon there with 1, and yet to score are the 2 drivers from Aston Martin, Cadillac, and Nico Hülkenberg from Audi. Very disappointing that he hasn't scored yet for Audi. In the constructors' points, well, it's Mercedes, then Ferrari, then McLaren, a distance back. Then you've got Red Bull and Alpine. Top 5 for Alpine. Wow. And you got Racing Bulls with 21, Haas with 19, Williams with 7, 2 for Audi, both belong to Borletto, Cadillac and Aston Martin yet to score. In my prediction, Cadillac will score points this year towards the end of the season, and they'll be ahead of Aston Martin. Quick recap of our season thus far here in 2026 for Formula One. Next up for Formula One is the fabled Monaco Grand Prix through the streets of Monte Carlo, round 6 of the 2026 World Championship. Can Kimi Antonelli go for 5 in a row? Truly amazing. MotoGP returns to action in Italy, and we'll see who shows up on the grid. We have had 3 riders injured in the last 2 MotoGPs. World Rally Championship will go to Japan as they get back into the fight. And this just in, we saw that Joseph Newgarden showed up to the Indy 500 banquet tonight with a foot boot on his left foot. Was injured yesterday in his crash. There was no interview with Joseph Newgarden, and he said he wasn't going to give an interview because he wanted to watch the rest of the race on TV. Well, he stayed in the medical center because he had a fractured bone in his left foot. He will take part in this weekend's Detroit Grand Prix. Joseph, buddy, hope you feel better. Him and Rossi will be hobbling in this weekend's Detroit Grand Prix, which we'll have the results and talk about here on our next edition of Fast Lap, along with all the other racing and motorsport news around the world that's worthy to put on here. Thank you for watching Motorsports Around the Globe here on CIH Media. I am your host, Doug Peacock, and until next time, bye-bye, everyone.